this Saturday. Remember, fireworks may be great fun for you, but they can terrify your pets. Make sure your fireworks are loud enough to drown the petrified howling of your animals, or your children might get upset. Scandal news, the government won't survive this. Ken Clark once worked on a cake stall, and John Gummer works occasional shifts as a hairdresser. That's it, good night.
Paul Garner's just been on the phone. Now, he's going to go to an airport tonight, and we've worked out a routine whereby he will get the tannoy to announce various childish names, and it's got a drama story to it. You won't believe what he's going to try, but he's actually going to try and get the airport tannoy system to announce the following. The first couplet of names is, I had this vacant job, and I will be fired. Followed up by, I have been fired, and bye-bye everybody. Now that's worth a fiver if he gets that. Before 10 o'clock. Okay, tonight's star guest is Frankie Valli. He's being interviewed by Wayne Carr, like this.
You know, just to be able to have an audience is really a wonderful privilege
that very few people have. It's like some people can wear a particular type of silly haircut and get away with it, but only very few.
Right.
That's after 9:30. David Copperfield was going to be on tonight, but then he started screwing it all up in Europe. You know that he's the guy who advertises himself on his posters and says, I will fly without the use of wires. And then at some gig in Europe, they got the lighting wrong, and everybody could see massive great big wires coming from his hips. I mean, where does he go now? Apparently reports are from his Earl's Court shows in London. He's sticking to the safe stuff. He's standing up there wobbling a biro about cleverly saying, look, it's made of rubber. And then he turns sideways onto the audience and forces a pencil, as if down his nose, but actually down the side of his cheek. Although apparently the front row could see that. And his biggest trick of the evening was to give everybody a bog roll and say, hold it up next to your hand, and if you look with both eyes, it looks like you got a hole in your hand. It's a shame, actually, he's not coming in, because, you know, he does his charity stuff for mental patients. He goes to mental hospitals and he says, well, I'm going to teach them to have a sense of themselves. Rubbish, it's just they're the only people who believe the tricks now. Also in the news tonight, furore as TV chef Glyn Christian releases a video of animal recipes, which includes footage of him shooting an elephant in a zoo.
Hey, there's an elephant over here. What are you going to go for now? Okay, not it.
And what life was like off-screen for the children who appeared in Noel Edmonds' multicoloured swap shop.
We used to have parties sometimes. The children would do stripteases with the elder women and dance to soft music for the men.
Peter Bainham, new feature tonight. Meanwhile, here's today's feedback report number 1.
We're looking today at spherical cattle, making them round. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
How would a spherical cow get around its pen?
Well, I should think you'd have to put some sort of netting round it to guide it.
So what's they could just go grip on the net?
That's right. You couldn't leave it in the field or anything like that.
Well, imagine if it was in a pen and the water was at the other end of the pen and it was thirsty. How would it manage?
Well, can they smell it?
Well, I suppose they'd have a nose on the circumference.
Well, is it? They've got to have some sort of a smell of it.
Let's assume they have.
They roll to it.
They'd roll towards it?
Yeah.
How would they actually manage to make themselves roll?
Muscles. Their own muscle strength inside them.
Would it be better off with a leg?
Well, I should think so. It could walk along just like a chicken, 2 legs.
Unless the legs were opposite sides, and then it would have to go around like a sort of a broken line.
Well, it couldn't go as a ball. If you had a ball and you put 2 legs to it, one either side with the ball.
Right, but if they were sticking out at the side, they'd be like sort of long, thin ears or something, and it would just bounce off the wall.
Yeah, well, then you're getting like something from outer space.
If you gave it 2 legs, would you have them side by side, or would you have them at opposite ends of the ball?
Side by side.
How far apart?
2 or 3 foot.
And what about if it was a milk cow?
It's a milk cow? Perhaps they might do a square one.
And if you saw a spherical cow and you had a gun about you, would you shoot it?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a brand new feature tonight, Peter's People with Peter Bainham. This is how we, the broadcasters, stay in touch with you, the people. What happens is we find one of you, we place a radio transmitter in your hair, we can follow you wherever you go in the United Kingdom. Peter, who have you found today?
Hi, Chris. I found a man in Derby this afternoon. Now he's in Ockbrook.
Have you managed to find out anything useful about him?
No.
Great, okay, same time next week.
Cheers.
Bye. You saw Bates, didn't
Yes.
you? Yeah. Just standing outside the pub, okay? This was when we came in tonight, 8:30, pitch dark, freezing cold, Bates and 3 girls standing outside the pub.
What was like with his hands, like, forced, trying to look cool, with his hands
cool.
forced down the front pockets of his trousers.
Yeah, just stretching the fabric across the cheeks.
A big fat arse, like, underneath
Great,
the
very
fabric.
unusually broad and bow-legged. And I reckon he goes around the pubs here at night, because he lives around here, and he goes and looks up old BBC cronies. He kicks open the door and shouts as he gets into the pub, "Who's on my side?" And they all just kind of, like, bury their faces in the beer.
Why were those 2 girls with him? I mean, he's standing there with these 2 sort of obviously underage girls.
Well,
what's the point of that?
It's the technique, because he's low on support, so he goes around the streets, and anybody who looks like they couldn't be able to buy a drink because they maybe look at that awkward cusp age, he says, "I'll get you a drink if you're on my side."
I mean, did you see him the other day, like, walking past a couple of executives, obviously BBC executives?
Oh, he does this.
They're talking. He sort of cuts them up on the inside and goes like, "Rubbish, rubbish," as he walks past.
But without looking at them.
Yeah,
looking straight ahead. Oh, he does that. And whenever he sees 2 male executives walking past him, he goes, "Who's your boyfriend?" And he's
poor guy. I mean, he hasn't got an outlet. I mean, that's what he hasn't.
He needs
any
one.
Mouthpiece. I mean,
he needs a
something.
decent.
I mean, that's why, right? I reckon in about a year's time, you're going to see that guy walking up Oxford Street with some sort of like strap-on gramophone.
And the hour-tune
playing the
theme.
hour-tune music.
But it'll be wowing because he's walking.
And he'll have like a sort of pocket. He'll reach out of his pocket and have like some crumpled old hour-tune letters.
Yeah, and he'll have a big speaker horn over his head and he's saying, "This one is a letter from Stephanie. I've changed her name to protect her identity." And people put like 5p in his cap.
And there's going to be that.
But it's not all tragic, you know, because there's that thing on Carlton, which he must be getting a few pennies for.
Oh, God, what's it called, that thing about 4 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning?
What's it 4 o'clock on a Monday morning, live Bates.
Bates, yes.
And you've got 20 blokes in the studio as an audience.
Yeah, all blokes.
And him there on a set.
Yeah, and these rubbish items, like, what is it, Selena Scott doing that spoof news.
That's right, yeah, and the tragic Dudley Moore's Hollywood Gossip. And he beams in on a satellite there, and he looks like Ron Wood with a greasy, short haircut. And he's kind of, his face is all crumpled up.
He's usually pissed as well.
Yeah, that's right, but then Simon Bates keeps saying, "You're pissed, aren't you, Dudley?" And he keeps going, "I haven't got very much gossip for you this week."
Because he just doesn't know anybody anymore.
Well, he's excluded from all the functions. And Bates won't let up, and oh no, Dudley Moore just sits there kind of going...
What to do with Bates, though? I mean, what's the business with the smoking? I mean, does Bates smoke?
No, he never smokes.
But he's sitting there.
Yeah, he smokes on telly to look tough.
Yeah.
Because it's a tough, controversial show. Did you see what he did on Monday night? That Welsh guy.
Oh my God! The cannibal.
The cannibal, yeah. He was a small bit, about 5'2", a very innocent-looking guy, wide-eyed, and Bates had him on. And this bloke had apparently, at some stage, quite legally, ate some human flesh.
Yeah.
And Bates wouldn't let up. This is how I brought the tape in tonight.
What? Have you got it?
Yeah. This is how he introduced him. Listen.
All right. Okay. Yep. Have a seat. Now, this man has eaten human flesh. Mark, tell us about it.
Well, you know, I
tell us how you ate your niece.
You say I...
She was killed in a road accident.
Yes.
Last winter.
Yeah.
You ended up eating her. You ate the flesh of your own flesh and blood.
Yeah, well, it's easy to say that.
I mean, this is outrageous.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. Just tell us, was it delicious?
You can't just say delicious.
How delicious was it?
Look, she died, right, naturally.
Was it soft meat, her soft meat in your mouth? I mean, is that why you did it?
No, I did it because it's nutritious. Right?
I mean, you got to admit this is outrageous.
Well, you might think.
No, listen, it's not me that thinks that. Don't get me wrong here. You see a lot of people in the audience here who are wincing. I mean, I can take anything. I've been all over the world. I've eaten all kinds of rubbish.
Yeah, well,
I've eaten all kinds of shit.
It's not that awful, right? What I
don't justify it to me. Justify it to the people at home. Let me ask you the question on their behalf. Why did you eat human flesh?
Because I wanted to, and because...
That's Mark Capps. Mr. Outrageous tonight will be back after these words.
And he didn't let up. He didn't let up at all. It was, and then suddenly the tone changed after the ad break because the bloke brought out a sort of sachet of...
Oh!
Yeah, do you remember? It was, what did he call it? Cured bicep. Of this girl that he'd eaten, and he offered it to Bates, and there was no getting away from it, and everybody started pressuring him to eat it, and he couldn't get out of it.
What did you say?
I got some. There you go. You see,
that's not necessary. No, we don't need that. That's
but I thought
that's real flesh.
Yeah, but you're asking me about it.
We didn't ask you for that. We didn't ask you for that. That's okay. I don't need to eat any of that. No, I don't want you to. He wasn't asked to bring it on. You weren't asked to bring it on. Did we ask you to bring it on?
No, wait a minute. You're on your own mouth and everything. Why don't you try some listen to them? Go on.
I'll eat some after the show. I'll eat some after the show.
No, I mean now.
I'll eat some after the show. Go on. Okay. I'll eat some after the show.
No, now I think no. Go on.
All right. Give me some here. Give it here.
Eat it, mate.
We put it on the plate. I did it. I don't care. Shut up. I've done it. Shut up.
It's tragic, that. It was just like, what an end. Well, it's not the end of the career, but they closed the programme early. And he just went off green. You were quite a fan of his, weren't you?
I used to quite like him, yeah.
How much did he pay you to write our tune?
About £300 a letter.
Stupid idiot me, I booked a holiday. I'm going to miss fireworks night. But please remember, fireworks are dangerous. It is not a good idea to crucify a rum-soaked otter on a wooden swastika, nail it to a tree, gaffer tape a magnesium and black powder-filled avocet to the end of each arm, and apply a lighted match to the Semtex-rubbed weasel that dangles from the bum gut of each, unless all spectators are more than 25 yards away.
In world news today, officials decree that rapper Brad Jordan, alias Scarface, must be stopped. After being monitored by Secret Service agents for 2 years, evidence leads tobacco and firearms officials to believe that his literally dope lyrics promote drug usage and distribution.
Yeah, well, it's more gangster stuff. There's a guy called Scarface.
Promote and teach violence, and more importantly, it
features Ice Cube coming in at the end.
Destroying our communities.
And there's a swear word, I reckon, in about 4 seconds' time. So the publicist phoned back and bit Ollie's head off its stump. Twice, I think. So I kind of went into troubleshooter mode and, put on some stupid name like Ron Shelf and started talking like with an accent somewhere between Ken Bruce and California, but rather slippery, as you'll probably hear. And let me start the music. Okay, the cheese music. And I phoned back. She wasn't happy. This kind of thing.
I had Frankie Valli's tour manager on the phone to us this morning, screaming.
Screaming?
Screaming, as tour managers can do.
Right.
Saying, who was that interviewer? He was incredibly rude.
Was he making any sense?
Not after a while, no.
No.
I think that the main point that came across,
right,
and it went downhill after that, was the question, you always sing flat at your gigs, Frankie.
Yeah, okay, so she's not happy then. So I said Wayne wasn't happy either. And I said that he'd left the building in tears, that he normally stayed on to work well into the afternoon, but he'd gone out at lunchtime, tears streaming down his face. Frankie Valli was his hero. How dare Frankie Valli talk to him like that? And 2 minutes later, what did she say? What excuse did she offer for Frankie Valli? This.
There's one thing you have to always realise, and we realise this all the time.
Dig.
They're American.
He's American, he's American,
he's American. He's American, he's American.
Yeah. Now, this is someone who's representing her client here. Yeah, he's American. What do you expect? And then, shortly after that, I said that, we were doing a program where we had lots of presenters, lots of great presenters, Wayne and just amongst many others, and that was part of the deal of the program. And by this stage, she'd done a total volte-face and started saying stuff like this.
Do you know what? You're very wise.
Thank you.
Because when we do jobs, we use different people to do different things because that way it keeps it fresh and alive.
Sure.
And I find that the joy of what we do, because sometimes it's an absolute fucking nightmare, like this morning.
Yeah, bonding, that.
Like, you understand
well,
that?
she swore at me, that's bonding.
Every now and then.
So, for example, if you wanted, Hank Marvin.
She's offering guests now.
Wow.
Him too.
You're doing him?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Okay.
And if you're interested in Hank is touring with his son Ben and Brian Bennett and his son.
Right. Big deal.
Do the butchers and the lawyers come to the stage now?
Yeah.
It's now serious second generation.
Yeah. Is his great uncle Lee?
Yeah.
That's PR for you. So it was about a 5-minute conversation, the beginning of which she was furious and had just ripped off Ollie's head. The end of it, she was offering her next guest. These people. You could tell, when they start swearing at you, I've had a fucking terrible day. She offered me a holiday. She offered me a No, she didn't.